Loki is good. Yeah, I'm doing it quickly this time. I thought WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier were solid enough. They both started off strong, got even better by the middle, but ultimately floundered a bit towards the end. Unfortunately, I was getting a bit worried for the rest of Disney Plus Marvel shows, but thankfully Loki proved me wrong. Now, if I remember, the main problem people had going into this show was that they didn't like how Loki was essentially back again after dying about 3 times by this point. But since it was a different Loki, all the development he went through Thor 2 and 3 are essentially gone. Now he basically had to relearn how to be good again. That was essentially the problem everyone had. But after watching how the show dealt with this situation, I can safely say it's not as much of a problem as we once thought. First off, characters coming back to life and forgetting everything they learned is just a daily occurrence in comics. Like, we do have to remember this is a comic book universe. This sort of thing is bound to happen. But most of all, I have to say, Loki's actually far better developed in this show than in the movies. Like, I don't think we really think about the fact that Loki never really had that much of a redemption arc in the movies. It honestly felt like Loki became a hero simply because he was fun to watch. It worked for those movies, but all in all, I think it actually worked for the best to see Loki get proper development. I do think it's a bit weird to see a more sympathetic version of the character just a week after killing hundreds of people, but that's always been a problem with the character, so it's just best not to think about it. So anyways, I'm guessing you already know the plot of the show. After Loki escapes custody of the Avengers in Endgame, he is then recruited by the TVA to find a variant Loki who intends on bringing an end to the TVA. But obviously, there's far more to this show than what we knew going into it. We get introduced to other variants, lots of Easter eggs, and a villain we definitely didn't see coming. So assuming you've already watched it, what was so good about it? Honestly, there's really not much to it. It's just really cool to see such a weird yet creative side of the MCU. Most impressively, it was done in the form of a TV show. I mean, I didn't even think it was possible for a TV show to have set design and visuals as good as this. It even looks better than some of the actual movies. Tom Hiddleston is great as Loki, as per usual. The characters are really fun and interesting. And by the characters, I'm unfortunately referring to the primary characters, specifically Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie, and hell, even classic Loki. But everyone else is kinda mainly the other TVA agents and Loki variants. Not to say that they're bad, but only really comprise of the least entertaining parts of the show and don't really stand out on their own. I'd say the only other thing I have a gripe with is the relationship between Loki and Sylvie. Not to say that they don't have any chemistry, but I just don't think making them an actual couple is really the best idea. Not because it's self-cessed, I don't really care about that, but I feel like they would have worked better just being allies learning to be friends. And obviously, I need to talk about Kang. What a reveal. People theorized he would show up, and I just assumed it would be another Mephisto situation where we think it will happen, most of all want it to happen, but in the end just be disappointed. But wouldn't you know it, he just pops up, and I gotta say, so far I like this interpretation of the character. Kind of funny how in 1 week I see a good villain from the comics be completely ruined, and then see a pretty dumb one from the comics be massively improved. I mean, they gave this guy actual personality, and I think it works seeing him in human form. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Kang in the future. I also just really think it's great to see that, unlike the other 2 Marvel shows, it doesn't wrap up too much in the final episode, making things feel a little lackluster. They actually have a cliffhanger setting up a season 2. Thank God. Just when I was gonna give this a 0 out of 10 for not having Owen Wilson say wow or ride a jet ski. Season 2 better fix this issue, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, that's Loki. Easily the best of the MCU shows so far, and I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.